Hello and welcome to your weekly podcast from Freestyle Media in partnership with the Magic 5, where you can get 15% off a pair of their custom fit goggles by using the link in the description to this episode. And I usually do plug Nathan Oxford of Oxolt Strength and Conditioning at the start of this podcast, but I'm going to let the man himself do it. So Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Joe. So please do check out Oxolt Strength and Conditioning. That's me, Nathan Oxford. I've been working with swimmers up and down the country. I've been getting great results both in and out of the pool. So go and check out the website, oxolt.com, for more information.
Oh, I love it. You're natural. You're doing me out of a job here. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I was a bit nervous for doing that, but I did well there. So I'm pleased that came out well. I was expecting us to do like 3 or 4 takes on it, but getting ready for Christmas. It's Christmas tree putting up day, I think, and just staying out in the miserable weather. And but how's things with you? Good?
All good. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we put our tree up the other day, which is nice. I'm sure you'll enjoy doing that. It's worth me saying, actually, this episode will be split into 2 halves. So I'm joined by Nathan for the first half, and I will be joined by Bob Bolton in the second half, Coach of the Year, of course. So we'll be speaking to him later on. But Nathan, you've got a bodyweight program, an at-home bodyweight program launching in the new year, which is why I thought it'd be a great chance to catch up and you can sort of tell people all about that. So I guess the first question really is, why did you decide to put this program together for people?
So I think if we start off where it all started was the bespoke 1-to-1, and that is the flagship. That's something that obviously going to carry on with. But there's a room for and a need for people that don't have time to go to the gym or don't have a gym membership and don't really know where to start. So that was sort of the idea of putting a home plan together. Just something specific that people can fit in around the busy lives that don't really know where to start. I guess it gives them a basis, a bit of accountability for what to do at home, really. So that was the idea behind it. That's going to launch in January, and then that will peak Masters Swimmers for the 2 big Masters meets, 2 national championships. That's the plan. So I'm really excited to launch it. I've had loads of interest so far, both off the Facebook page and just people emailing me saying, when's it coming out? So obviously all the information is on the website currently, but it's a good opportunity to talk to you about it and sort of the doors it's going to open for people, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really pleased to hear that you are periodising it so that people peak for the major competitions. That's something we'll definitely talk about in a bit. But I guess what my next question would be, like, what are the fundamentals of this program? And I don't mean what are the main exercises. I mean, what is it that people are going to get out of this? I mean, it sounds like an obvious question, but it's best to hear it from a professional.
Yeah, I think the first thing's structure, isn't it? So the amount of people that go, right, I've read this on the internet, or I know a little bit about this through my own training or experience or talking to other people. But I think having a plan to follow gives you that structure initially, doesn't it? And it gives you a little bit of accountability. I think at this point it's important for me to say, whilst there's no input from me on a 1-to-1 basis, there's loads of videos on there that will be attached, like regression opportunities, progression opportunities as well. So even though it's a generic home program, it is personalised if you want to, progress it in certain ways. So it gives people structure and accountability that way, where they're not sure what to do. And there is a lot of that. People going, right, I need to almost do like a circuit training kind of thing, but let's step it back, let's move well, and using the videos to inform that. So I guess it's moving well and giving people structure to a plan, and moving the good fundamentals of good movement. I know you said not the movements itself, but like including obviously squats, push and press. So those kind of movements, but with a clear structure. And I think that's the main bit, really, and not overcomplicating things. Just keeping things nice and simple, what people can do at home with no kit. But then again, if people have got kit, there'll be notes on there that you can add in. So if you've got some dumbbells at home, some kettlebells, just to progress certain movements. Bands are really good, as we spoke about before. But just giving people that structure and that sort of accountability, if you like, rather than just going, oh, what am I going to do today? With the idea of them peaking for those meets.
I think structure and accountability are the two key things for me that I pick up there, because I know from my own experience, accountability, if you sign up for something and pay for something, it does make you think, well, that'll have been a complete waste if I sort of don't do this.
Yes.
And so that accountability thing, I think, is always fantastic. And structure as well, because even people like myself who've maybe been going to the gym for many years, sometimes you do get in a rut with your own type of training that you do. Maybe you stick to the same thing over and over and over again, and then you
Yes.
sort of get a bit bored of it, but you don't really want to change. And it's amazing how when somebody comes along and says, "Well, why don't you try this?" and here's a new program, suddenly you sort of go, "God, yeah, it's so simple, but I just never thought about it like that before." And I do think that can just make a massive difference.
Yeah, hugely. I think you can also overcomplicate things, can't you? You can think about, oh, what if I combine this movement with this movement? But it's about knowing that doing simple things but doing them well is good and is good enough. But then knowing how to progress it and when to progress that, I guess, is the main key elements. But I wanted to create a plan that people who didn't really have a clue of what to do or were unsure or just do the same thing, and having that structure and accountability, I think, is really key. So even though there's not a coach at the end of it, there's videos to watch and making sure, because you can then compare yourself to those videos as well. So there'll be loads of notes on there. There's going to also be access to a portal as well. So the portal will have psychology videos on there and exercises to do, some tasks, and same for nutrition as well. So not only do you get the plan as well, it's included the psychology and nutrition. So it's something that I've wanted to do for a while. I think it's something that's needed. People got busy lives, don't have gym memberships, so that's sort of plugging that hole, I guess.
No, I think it's fantastic, and something else that I think is always really interesting with the kind of no equipment type of workouts, and we've actually spoken before about this. Not on the podcast. The idea of like the difference between, say, a bench press or a squat, with a bar on your back, compared to, say, doing press ups or pull ups or something like that, is that you become a much more aware of your entire body.
Yeah,
And how your entire body moves. And I know that's something that you're quite big on. So it's, I guess, when you're, or especially, let's simplify it a bit more and say you're sitting on a chest press machine and you're sitting down and you're pushing something out. You probably don't really have to think about your legs at all or your hips or anything like that. But if you're press upping, everything is a consideration, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, you integrate, if you take that example, we keep for that one. So you're also thinking about the integration of the core, aren't you, as well? So are you moving as one unit, or do the hips drop? Are you strong enough to do a push up? Because it can be easy, obviously, to do a press on a chest press machine. So it's that whole sort of holistic approach to, and if we link that to swimming, can you, I guess, are you stable enough in those positions? The shoulder, hip, and core integration, rather than just sitting on a machine doing 3 laps of 10. And there is a place for that, but I think, if you're at home, you haven't got access to those machines. We can't then add other things in that are at the gym. And I think people then just skip out those kind of movements because we've got access to a bench press machine, or a Smith machine rather, or a chest press machine. So people don't then do push-ups anymore as much. So obviously all that will be in the program, and people just forget about those kind of movements, don't they? Thinking, all right, I'm going to go and do a bench press because I don't really need push-ups. I want to get stronger, and people take those kind of movements out.
I think something else is the idea of that some people do have gym memberships, but actually getting to the gym, say up to 3 times a week, can be difficult. So I'd imagine this is a great program for people if they can definitely get to the gym once a week. They can go and they can do their big bench presses and their squats and stuff like that. But actually, for 2 to 3 other sessions that week, they can do it at home and they can do body weight and actually get a mix of the two things.
Yeah, 100%. And it can be like a hybrid between the two, can't it? So, I mean, the structure will be 3 30-minute sessions. So you can plug in to your normal program if you wish. And one of those sessions will be mobility work as well. So I guess it can be a plug-in, or it can be a standalone program. If you can get access to a gym, obviously you can create more stress in certain movements and you've got more variety. But as you say, some people have busy lives, don't they? We all do. And if you haven't got access to a gym, or you've got a busy life, works in the way, or you're having one of those weeks where you just can't fit everything in, it's a good opportunity then to go, right, okay, what's the plan? What's the structure for this week?
Definitely. So let's talk about some of the exercises. And what I don't want to do is give away exactly what the program is on this podcast. Otherwise, there's no point in people buying it, of course. But just talk to us about the core movements that people will be doing.
Yeah, I think it's got to be, and it has to focus on the fundamental movements, doesn't it? So whilst we have to be swimming specific in certain methods, we've got to make sure we move well and we're strong overall. Um, we've got to also make sure for adaptation that we can cause enough stress for the body to adapt. If we're training at home, we're limited on what we can do in terms of weight. So there'll be progression, regressions in there. But if we take a squat, for example, we can do body weight squats. We can then increase that intensity with tempo work. We can do a wall sit. So there's loads of research showing about isometric work is really good for strength building and general health anyway. So it'll all be working around sort of squats, rotations, push and pull movements, horizontal, vertical where possible. But there'll always be regressions and progressions in there where people want to move it into. So like if we take a squat, for example, we'll start on like, what does a squat look like? What should a squat look like? Just a body weight? Because it's amazing where people go, right, I can do a squat, but the heels come off the floor, the knees cave in slightly, they're going to halfway or quarter way depth squat. So it's looking about what does a good squat look like that's safe for them. And then we can then sort of build that up over time. We can integrate that with an isometric hold, which is great because it doesn't create as much sort of DOMs after. So we can increase the intensity without the weight there, and then without, I guess, creating too much fatigue for somebody that's really busy in the pool or out the pool.
Definitely, and I think something that I'm quite interested in the idea of, really, if we just sort of take a step away from swimming, which I know is not the whole point of this, but I often see people in the gym, big guys, massive guys, and they can do a massive bench press, or they can go on a lat pull down machine, and they can shift loads of weight, but they can't do a pull up. They can't do one pull up, and if they get on the floor and try and do a press up, it might not be that great. And I guess the great thing about this type of workout is that this is just getting people fundamentally stronger, rather than, because I guess the thing with the gym is, like a bench press, for example, it's very specific, isn't it? You're getting strong at that particular movement. It doesn't necessarily mean you're strong overall, but these types of movements at home, they're getting you stronger throughout your entire body. And as you say, it all sort of drives on the core. And I can only think that that's a good thing, swimming or not.
Yeah, I think so. I think having that structure of going right, what does a whole body workout look like if we're coming away from swimming? What does that look like to get me stronger for life in general? Being able to move with no pain, increasing my mobility, flexibility, and overall body weight strength or power or speed, whatever we're working on during that block. But you're 100% right, and people forget some of the key movements. So people don't really do push-ups as much anymore. People don't really do pull-ups. There's certain movements you look around the gym going, right, why aren't people doing that? And people want to move the big weight, don't they? People sit on a lat pull down machine because it's easier than doing a pull-up. And people can't do pull-ups, and it's something people can work on. You can regress them really quickly as well. So you get really thick bands to support the pull-up movement. But people just miss them out. But as you say, being strong for life, as we spoke about before, for me is really important. Irrespective of swimming and swimming performance, just moving well for life in general, for me is really important.
And I think something else is that probably when you think about a sort of at-home workout, no equipment especially, you probably think, oh, there's only so much you can do. But, again, you think about press-up, for example, you might start on your knees, and then you can change your hand position, so you can come close, you can go shoulder width, you can go wide.
Yeah,
and then
100%.
If you want to progress from there, you can do it off handles, you can put your feet up on a chair. And there's actually so many variations of a press-up where you can slowly make it harder and harder and harder.
Of course you can, yeah. And I always say, rather than starting with on knees, start as an inclined position. Doing a push-up and a pull-up, those kind of movements are hard. If you've never done them before and it's not something you've trained with, it's a hard movement to do, and you have to start at the basics, get the fundamentals right, and then build up from there. So, for example, the push-up starts as an inclined position. You can do eccentric work, so we're really slow on the lowering phase, reset at the bottom, and then go back into tall plank, and then slow on the eccentric again. So we can do different movements to get people up to that first push-up, and then once you've done one, confidence goes through the roof, doesn't it? And you go, right, I can do one, I've done it. And then you go, right, and I want to do two, and you start chasing numbers. But yeah, as you say, like there's so many variations of all the different kind of movements. And same in the gym, it doesn't have to just be a bench press, does it? Or a normal squat. There's so many variations. But I think there becomes the danger of making things too complicated sometimes, and making sure we do the basics correctly and safely, and then progressing. Or we might need to regress and then go from there, really.
Absolutely. And talking about that kind of progression through the sort of body weight exercises, if you like, I know that with swimming, especially with sort of the more sprinty kind of events like your 50s and your 100s, a lot of it is about max strength. It's not about necessarily strength endurance, because you kind of get your endurance, especially with swimming. It's a resistance sport. I mean, you're literally pulling yourself through water, so you're getting that strength resistance through swimming anyway. So I know that the sort of principles with the gym is often max strength, but actually, and so again, that might make you think, right, I need to get 100k squats on the go, and massive bench presses. But actually, you can get stronger and stronger and stronger at home without equipment, which is still achieving the max strength thing.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, of course you can. I think, people that are training for max strength, we've got to always make sure that's safe. So, a lot of people do 5 rep maxes or 3 rep maxes rather than one, obviously for the less injury risk or less dangers that brings with it. But it's all about making sure you've got enough stress for the body then to adapt, but don't spike it. So not too much stress at one time. That's the same for volume. It doesn't have to be for load. So just making sure that's a steady increase and just making sure everything's safe. But yeah, you can create enough stress just with a home workout rather than loading up. Isometric works really good. So like a split squat hold is really tough just with body weight. Holding that for 30 seconds and then you can take the heel off the floor, creates a little bit more intensity. So there's those little tweaks, but making sure you've got the fundamentals right first before then progressing on. But it's something I'm really excited to getting involved in, and seeing people progress. I've had loads of really good results, or the swimmers have had really good results, I should say, from the one-to-one programs, very good feedback. So I'm excited to see what happens with the home program. But like, if people have got questions, more than happy to answer those. But it's come with a 7-day free trial as well. So people can dip in, see if it's for them. Because you can create a program and people go, it's not what I want something slightly different. So it gives people opportunity to do that as well.
Let's talk about that then, and the fact that you've talked about people peaking ready for the 2 big meets of the year.
Yes.
How does this program sort of evolve for people? So what people see on day one
Yes.
as their program this week, for example, how much will it differ by late April when we've got the British champs?
Yeah, so week 1 will be, and we're going to start on January. So first week in January, there'll be a testing week. So there'll be certain movements or performance measures that people will perform. They can record themselves, look back on key milestones or markers, and they can look and see how they perform. That's sort of our benchmark, I guess, or the initial entry point. We then work from that. We need to make sure initially we've got the movements correctly. So there'll be week 1 will be about, right, this is how you perform a squat. This is how we perform a push-up. If you can't perform a push-up, this is what you need to focus on. This is what you need to do. So there'll be alternatives from there. From that point, we then work up. So we want to work on increasing steadily without spiking the amount of volume and intensity for that block of work. And same as a normal taper you would for in the pool, we then reduce that intensity and volume as we approach the competition. We want to keep intensity high, but a lot less of it. So we'll jumps, for example, jumps are high intensity, it's max effort. We won't do as many. So I guess it's making sure we increase that volume and intensity over time, and then obviously that will then dip down before competition. So there's plenty of time, obviously, before both big meets. So it's a good focus to have for both. And then people can then obviously take that knowledge away, look on the portal as well. It's not a program that people will keep for years and years and years. For me, I've got into this to help educate people as well, and going, right, okay, even if people do it for 3 months, taking this program, I've learnt this, I've got this, and I can move forward with it. I know what I'm doing. So it's about for me, it's about the education of people as well.
Education and confidence, which I think was your point earlier as well. It's if people have no idea what to do and they're just a bit nervous to start. This is a great basic tool, isn't it? As you say,
Yeah.
and then they educate themselves on the basics, the fundamentals, and they can progress from there.
Yeah.
So how much will this cost for people?
I was gonna get you to guess then. I shouldn't. Yeah.
I can guess if you want.
No, no, it's okay. So I'm going to do it as £9.99, which I think is a bargain. So I'm going to say that, aren't I? So yeah, it'll be obviously included in the portal as well, which is normally charged at £5 a month, just as a one-off for just the portal, I guess. So I suppose you can see it as an extra £5 and you get that program. So it's been £9.99 a month. So you get the program per week, access to the app. You get all the videos, you can then track your progress every time, and then you also get access to the portal. So, for me, it's about trying to put it at a price that I can cover access to the app, but I'm also giving people a really valuable program, an informative program to help them improve their performance and, I guess, knowledge and confidence.
Sounds fantastic. And of course, people can find that on your website, which you said earlier, www.oxolt.com.
That's correct. Yeah, all the information is there. I'll put it that people can sign up. It'll be that first week in January will be the launch, and then we can do a testing week that week, and then ready for the following week moving forward to the first champs.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how people get on, and actually, it would be fantastic to get some people on the podcast who have, maybe a month, 2 months into your program to come on and kind of feedback about it. That'd be really good.
Yeah, it'd be really good. It's that I'm, open to the questions and answers, and all those things, and feedback's a gift, as they say. So it's all up for me. It's about me evolving as a coach on people's feedback. But I'm really confident in the program that's going to be out there. I think it's something that's needed for people that don't have access to the gym, as I say, not really sure what to do, other than going, right, okay, maybe I need to do some air squats after listening to this, or some sort of push-up variation. But and it'll walk people through. So it's something I'm really excited doing, and it will go nicely alongside the one-to-one program.
Sounds fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Nathan, again for your time and for talking us through it. And everything you're doing for the swimming industry here is fantastic. So I'm sure people do appreciate it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Joe.
No, you're welcome. And now over to part 2 with Bob Bolton. And I am joined now by Swim England's Coach of the Year, Bob Bolton. Bob, how are you, mate?
Well, I'm just recovering from a bit of a cold, actually, Joe, but hopefully the worst is behind me now and I can crack on with things. I've been in the pool this morning, managed about 2K, not very successfully, but at least I was in. So over the worst of it. Thanks very much, Joe.
Yeah, that's good to hear. It must have been all the celebrations that you had off the back of your award. And I mean, look, congratulations! It's a brilliant award for you. And the impressive thing from where I'm standing, obviously as somebody who's not part of Trafford Metro, but for me, it's that this isn't just one good year. This is you've done back to back brilliant years now, and really it feels like that's probably what the award's all about.
I don't know, really. It's probably a culmination of a lot of years that we've put together at Trafford, really, because it's been a project for a long time now. It came completely out of the blue to me because initially the award was for the regional Coach of the Year, and I had no idea that anybody had put my name forward. Apparently, they had 24 hours to do this, and somebody managed to do all of this behind my back. I knew nothing about it, which is a bit unusual because I generally know what's going on. And then I got this email through the post through my computer, and it had a certificate on it. And I thought, I don't remember doing a CPD just lately. What's all this about? So I started looking at it, and I thought, Coach of the Year. So what's all that about? So I read through it and I thought, I had no idea what that was about. So I contacted the region and said, have you sent this to the right person? He said, yeah. Said, well, how did this happen? I said, well, my master swimmers have sent some submissions in for you. And what they did was the region sent back to me they sent a great big Word document of everybody's submission. And there were loads and loads of people who'd written some words that were so. When I was reading through it, it really brought a tear to my eye because some people had said some really, really nice, touching things that it makes it all worthwhile. I mean, it makes it worthwhile anyway, just being there. But just to be able to read what people had written, you can throw the certificate away from me. It's just that those comments mean more than anything to me, and it was really quite special to see that. But what happens if you win the regional one, the 8 regions come together for the national one. So I'm thinking, I'm getting a chance with that. That's not going to happen, not from a bunch of masters. So when they read my name out on the day in Birmingham, I was completely gobsmacked. I mean, I hadn't got a clue what I was going to say, because you have to get up and say a few words. And I thought, Jesus, what am I going to say now? I was completely blown away. But it's all because of those swimmers that said those nice things. So I have to say a massive thank you to each and every one of them, because it really does mean a lot to me, that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a lovely story just hearing what you said there. And I think what's fantastic, obviously from my point of view, and probably everybody listening to this, is that it's another fantastic bit of recognition for master swimming as well.
Absolutely, yes. That's the really big thing for me. It's the fact that Masters has been recognised. We're not just an add-on of a bunch of old ex-swimmers. We are swimmers, and we are, we're standing up and being seen. And I think when age group swimmers turn up to Masters events now, they start to realise there's a tremendous amount of talent in the Masters community. And that standard is just getting better and better and better. You see the records that fall every year. It's and you think, wow, how many more records can they break? And then the next year there's a load more that get decimated. Poor old Helen Akers at Swim England, she must have a full-time job updating all those records.
No, absolutely, and I think what's probably starting to happen now, across the country, is any sort of masters, any age group squad that kind of has masters tagged on as part of it, where you could see, maybe you train together and maybe masters have a lane or two, is they're probably starting to find now that probably the fastest person in that club is a masters swimmer, or at least one of the and I think that's where you're talking about the respect that age group as a probably really now have for masters. I mean, it's not always just about the super fast master swimmers, of course it's not.
Yeah.
But for an impressionable 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, they're looking up to somebody who's in their 30s, 40s and going, oh my God, I want to be as fast as them.
Well, I mean, we've probably got the very best example of all of that at Trafford Metro with Helen Sadler. Helen Sadler, I'm sure she'll forgive me for saying this, 53 years of age, and she's still competing for the club at Arena League.
Yeah.
And still, she mixed it up yesterday, and she didn't give up any ground to anybody she swam against yesterday. She was phenomenal once again. She was selected as ladies captain, and those kids all look up to her. And it's just great to see, because that's exactly as swimming should be. There shouldn't be this, they're masters and they're age group swimmers. And unfortunately, the system that we have does tend to make it like that. And the system that has prevailed for far too many years, which I think we're getting over now, is that it's almost a case of at the age of 18, you're scrapped. Where do you go from 18? A lot of swimmers, they decide it's their time to finish for one reason or another. Maybe they go into full-time work, or maybe they're going on to university and they're not able to train at the level that they were training at. And they sort of lose touch with the sport. Well, if we can, as clubs, if we can sort of find some way of accommodating those swimmers, then we should do that. And our club has, I have to say, the main reason we have a strong masters section is because we've always accommodated all of our swimmers. We don't let them go easily at 18. We try and retain them. So we have student membership. They don't pay any. Well, they pay the usual annual fee to Swim England, but they only pay when they turn up, which means when they come back from holidays, from term time in the holidays, they can come and swim if they like. So they know they've always got a club to come back and swim with and see their old mates. And it works really well. And we've got swimmers now who are in the 30s who have come through the club system, from being little kids at 8, 9, 10 years of age. And we've still got them in the club. And that is so important. And that's how you develop your masters going forwards. And it's why we have a big masters section. It's contributed to that. And I just wish that more clubs out there could do the same and encourage some kind of a system that would enable people to be accommodated from 18 onwards. And I don't know what the solution is to making that happen more. Maybe it's finding pool time for them. I don't know, but I just wish more clubs could do it, because we'd have an even better masters community.
Absolutely, and speaking of those, brilliant swimmers, your Helen Sadlers, etc. From your point of view as a coach who's just been recognised as Coach of the Year, do you think that it's the swimmers around you that are driving your own performance up as a coach?
Oh, I have to. But there's no question about that. Every single year, I have to ask the question: how do I gear this program up to get these swimmers better? Because it's that old saying, if you keep doing what you've always done, you just get the same old results all the time. So I have to think about, how am I going to change things up? What am I going to do that's a bit different? How can I make Danny Mills better? I mean, that's the $64,000 question, really. But it's a question I have to ask myself, because if I don't ask it, I'm just going to turn out what I did last year or the year before. So somehow you've got to think of ways of making it different. And sometimes you don't get it right. Sometimes you do. I mean, I did something last week. I think it was last week or the week before. It was something to do with how many kicks they were going to do underwater. Didn't go down well. So I said, right, okay, well, that experiment's failed. We won't be bothering with that one again. But if you don't try, you don't know. So we keep trying new ideas, keep trying stuff out. And hopefully it keeps the swimmers engaged and that they want to be involved with it all. And we'll see what the results are going to be next year.
Well, that was going to be my sort of final question, really, on the award. Is 2024? Are there going to be any changes that you kind of? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of tweaks, but is there anything kind of fundamental that you might sort of decide to change?
Oh, fundamental. I would love to be able to have a dedicated land training session, because I know a lot of our swimmers, they do their own land training programs. They go to gyms and they do whatever they do. We have done it before, where we managed to get an hour on a Wednesday night. It was a bit hit and miss, and we only had about half a dozen people that came down to it. And it's that old problem, really. Do you want to travel a long way just to come and do a bit of land training when you could perhaps be doing it at home or in your local gym? I mean, they'll come and swim, but will they come and do land training necessarily? And the answer to that is probably not really, unless we can get into a gym with all the equipment. And unfortunately, we couldn't. We only had a room that's got a limited amount of equipment. So we had some free weights and kettlebells and dumbbells, that sort of thing. So it was limited on what we could do. So it tended to be circuit training mainly that we would do. But it was an element of land training work with stretching and yoga stretches and that sort of thing as well. So I'd love to be able to do a bit more of that. But outside of that, really, it's just looking at how you make subtle changes to individuals' performances, how we're going to improve some people's underwaters, recognising that some people have got other things that they maybe need to improve. It's making sure that we focus on doing everything really well to a really high standard. It's not about swimming fast at this time of year. It's about swimming well, about swimming with perfect technique. So I write on the board, PT, perfect technique. And then the clever dicks amongst them say, it's always perfect, my technique. Well, of course.
Brilliant.
So and I really don't know what the answer to that is, other than we just keep trying to tweak things a little bit here, there, and everywhere. And it's an ongoing issue, really, and it's not going away. It's going to be a different problem again next year. But the swimmers change. We get one or two new swimmers that will come in. There'll be one or two that will leave for whatever reasons. So it will change, and we've got one or two new swimmers that have joined us in the last few months, and I think they'll change the dynamic a little bit. It'll make relay teams a little bit different. And we love a good relay. So it's going to be an interesting year next year. I'm looking forward to it, and especially because we've got our competition lined up for May as well. I've agonised over this for a number of years, and I've said that as a club we really ought to have a Masters Open competition. So I spoke to our treasurer Alan Rosen, who is a Masters Supremo. He's a former winner of the Cherryman Award. He's organised the Northwest Masters regional event, the Cheshires. I mean, he's done everything that I do, but he's done it in the past, and he still helps me with stuff now. He's brilliant, Alan. So Alan was all for it, and Chris Malpass put his hand up and said, I'd be happy to help. So, and then we said, does anybody else want to get involved? So we got a whole army of people who said, yeah, they'll help out in some way or another. So we've had several meetings. We've put together a programme of what we're going to do, and we've set the date. So the date is the 11th of May, the Saturday. The Saturday, and we've got that on the Masters calendar, so it's out there for people. We're going to build the entry system so that it should go live hopefully before the end of the year, or certainly early next year. And we're going to have all the events up to 400s. We're going to have a novice race as well. So this is for people who, we're going to put some terms and conditions together around it. So anybody who has never competed would qualify for this. So anybody who is relatively new to swimming, and it's not about being a really fast swimmer. It could be somebody who's going to do a 38-second 50 freestyle. If that's going to win it, then that's great, because it's seeing somebody compete for the first time. It's bringing them into the Masters swimming community. It may be that they've not competed for maybe 10 years, something like that. But we'll put some kind of conditions around it. But it's geared to really encouraging people who've not competed or would like to get involved, giving them an opportunity where they feel they can get in, have a swim, and they're not going to be swimming against someone like James Simpson and getting battered. We're going to put some fun events in. We're going to have some 25s, but we're going to put some fun events in. Not entirely sure what they're going to be yet, but it might be something like fin kick or a fins race, something like that. So there are going to be some fun events. We're going to have an announcer, an interviewer. We're going to have a commentator. We're going to try and make it a slick, enjoyable day. It's probably not going to be in the style of the AP racing event, because we've probably not quite got the razzmatazz for that. But we're going to try and put something on that people are going to come to, where there's going to be an atmosphere at the venue, at the pool. And people are going to enjoy themselves, so that they're going to want to come back next year or the year after. So that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, that all sounds fantastic, and you actually kind of answered my question there about about obviously the Trafford Metro meet first and foremost, but secondly about would you be looking to diversify slightly in terms of the types of races that you're going to put on? We obviously all know that the standard races across the board need to be on. They should, they're fundamental to any program. But as we have seen this year, obviously with AP race, but even like, for example, at the Etwall meet, they have like a system where if you place well in a race, you get like a free race the following year. You almost get like a voucher for a free race. They give out spot prizes, just things like that, just to try and.
We've got sponsors lined up right, left, and centre. We're looking at eco-friendly medals. There'll be spot prizes galore. We're hoping to have a couple of high-profile sponsors in place. So there'll be lots of stuff going on the day. It's not just going to be a case of rock up and do 100 freestyle and walk away with a bronze, silver, or gold medal. There'll be plenty of other stuff as well. So that hopefully lots of people will go away with things. We hold our spring meet for the age group swimmers on the next day. So we've always held it on that. It's around about that 12th, 13th of May in the summer. And we always award prizes down to the 6th place. So they get medals for the first 3, they get pennants or whatever. So we give lots and lots of prizes away. So people come to the meet because they know that they may not be one of the better swimmers, but the likelihood is they're going to go away with something. So they get a prize. So which means that people who make up the numbers, I'd sort of describe them as people like myself who buy the winners' medals when I enter a competition. Those sort of people are going to go away with something as well. So there's going to be lots of people who will enjoy the meet for that reason, and lots of spot prizes. I just think I'm hoping it's going to be a really enjoyable day for people that's going to make them want to come again.
Yeah, so that's my final question really is, obviously you're on board with diversifying slightly and trying to just make it more enjoyable, more fun. How important do you think that is going forward for more and more of these meets to come up with ways of just making it a bit more memorable?
Well, I think it is important because what you see now is there's been a huge increase in the popularity of Masters meets. You've only got to look at the calendar now to see how busy that calendar is becoming. There's a lot of meets around where people used to say, oh, man, there's no meets available now. Where am I going to get a qualifying time once we introduce qualifying times? Well, there's an awful lot of meets out there now. And meets are going to end up competing for a space, rather like triathlon, where, to get yourself with a new triathlon on the calendar, you've got to do something a bit special. And I think it's going to become more like that with Masters swim meets. And what I would like to see is that we have I'm not going to say like the system that we have with mainstream age group swimming, where it's counties weeks 1 to 7 in the new year, and regions are always at the same time, and nationals are always at the same time. And we had nationals at the last weekend of October. But if we could try and get some kind of standardization, so we know roughly when counties are going to be, we know roughly when regions are going to be. And I know that everybody's going to say, oh yeah, well I don't want to have our county championships in that window because we've always done it in this window. Well, that's fine. So you carry on, you do what you will. But if we could get a little bit more standardization so that we could have other meets that will slot in around those, so it gives people the opportunity to be able to enjoy lots of competitions. And I'm not saying that that county competition should all be at the same time. I mean, within our region, it would be nice if we could agree that we do them definitely on different weekends, and the regions are different weekends. So you get the opportunity to go to all the competitions within your region. So you don't have to travel miles and miles to go to a meet, and that they're all of a decent standard. They all have something to offer that's going to satisfy all the swimmers that are out there. And I think that's going to happen. I think that meets will get more creative so that they get the attendance levels. And you probably find that some of the smaller meets will be better than the smaller club meets will become better than some of the county regional events, which are tending to be a bit more traditional.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, as you said rightfully, the more competitions, the better, because the more choice that there is for swimmers then. But no, the Trafford Metro meet sounds fantastic. Obviously, as you said there, hopefully it opens either at the back end of this year or early next year. Obviously, look out for it on the Swimming England calendar. You'll have all the information on there. But Bob, thank you so much again for joining me. It's always a pleasure, and congratulations again on being
Thank you very much.
Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
All the best for Christmas as well.
Thank you, and you.
And to all your listeners.